Welcome to Relaunch, the real estate podcast focused on helping you find your success in real estate. My name is Lorne Cooper. I am an active real estate sales representative just north of Toronto, Canada. The whole purpose of this podcast is to bring you actionable content by interviewing the best of the best in this business, helping to take you from zero to hero in your real estate career. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Relaunch Podcast. That is the Real Estate Launch Podcast. This is take number 2 because the system blew up and Kathleen was giving us some amazing content. We are welcoming Kathleen Black, of course, to this episode. We're going to start again. We're going to get into the goods right away. Hello, Kathleen.
Hello.
All right, so let's do a little recap of what we talked about. I was asking Kathleen, who is a successful coach and has a coaching company, what her start was in real estate as a sales professional. So let's go back to those early days. You had mentioned around, 2007?
Yes, finally licensed. And before that, it was focused on investment properties. So I didn't get my license. Like we were just purchasing, gutting, making multi-unit and retaining them and kind of doing what you do, moving into one once the unit's done and going to the next one once that building is rented. But eventually we just saw a disconnect. We had a great realtor, fantastic person, but disconnect with how we were assessing the properties and how we wanted to negotiate. And really we found it didn't make sense for me not to have a license. And I really fought it. I didn't really want to get into the real estate industry. I had 2 young kids. Like we were building based off of sweat equity and we were busy enough, to be honest. I didn't really need a new hurdle at that time. But I did obviously end up to get into real estate, get my license, and I went shopping. And I shopped, I went and sat down with every broker manager who would meet with me, every team that I thought looked like a strong, successful team. And I was saying it was really interesting that some of the people actually kind of tried to dissuade me from getting into real estate, like whether it was because I had young kids or because they felt my goals were too lofty. And, why would anyone want to sell that many homes, which I still look back and laugh. I was like, I don't think they were too dialed into my personality at the time. Like that definitely wasn't going to be the brokerage I went with. But yeah, and a few teams. And end of the day, for me, what was most important was training, experience, production, the ability to learn as much as I could as quickly as possible. And like lots of people, I thought go into the team for a year, learn as much as you can and get out and build on your own. That was 100% my intention. And come the end of a year, I was super busy. I was already starting to get repeat and referral. My center of influence, sphere of influence was quite strong. And I had no reason to leave. Like the other people who got into real estate when I did, most of them were already leaving the business. 2 years in, all of them had left the business. So it was just a night and day scenario for me where a team was actually a perfect place to launch my business.
And these other people you're referring to, were they going at it as an individual agent or were they on the team as well?
Yeah, they were. And they were individual. And I remember even a couple months in them going, oh, we haven't sold a house. You sold a house yet? I'm like, yeah, I've sold 5 houses. And they thought I was kidding, but it was just such a different, to go into a high paced, high production environment, that's all it sets your expectation of, hey, it's totally normal that within my first 6 months in the business, I'm going to sell 3 houses a month. I never really thought anything different. And then it was 4 houses a month. And then I think the top was 15 houses in 1 month, not every month, obviously. But that was the record, right? So team allowed for me to model what worked and be really careful about not modeling what I didn't want for my life, right? Everybody has a different style, but yeah, they went individually and it was just night and day experience.
Okay. Now you were going through some personal challenges during that first year and thankfully, like you mentioned, you were in a team environment that basically fostered success in numbers. So it seemed normal to do the high volume that you were doing.
Yeah, I think, good teams give you an opportunity. I'm careful to say I worked really hard. It's not as if not everybody who came in the team did the level of business that I did. Not everybody stayed. It wasn't a fit for everybody. Because I was going through, as you said, personal separation, really, I went from not being the income earner to getting my real estate license. And within 6 months being, okay, you're the only income that's going to cover your whole life. And you've got investment properties and a house and 2 kids. And, it's gotten messy and the other person's checked out, which happened. So it's kind of, it was make or break. But even before that, I knew I would be all in. It's just despite fight myself, right? Like all I could see was building the business once I got into it. So that first year was very busy and a mix, of center of influence, of appointments being booked for me, of, realtor.ca leads, other leads coming in, ad call, sign call, duty time from the brokerage. I would pick up any extra duty shifts that were available for the team or the brokerage all the time. So any working hour, I was in the office, which, anybody watching this going and now coaching the number of agents I have, like some of the old school things I don't believe in, but some of them I really do. And showing up and going to work every morning as a realtor, I think is one of the most fundamental when you're building your business for success. Like you just got to show up. So I was there every single day, as soon as I dropped the kids off 8:40 before anyone on the team, and I'd be there all day unless I had face-to-face appointments.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into something. You had mentioned you were going around doing all these interviews with brokerages and with teams. Yeah. So there are a lot of agents out there that are considering getting into a team environment or that are just getting in, just got their license and listening and thinking, how do I get started? How would you suggest people go about choosing the right environment for them, the environment that would then lead them down the path of success?
First, I'm always careful to just be disclose bias. Like I've built my last 10 years has been basically an obsession into all things team, right? Everything that works with team, what works, what doesn't, how to build them as quick as possible. So to me, what a strong team offers is a no-brainer to start your business there. I mean, if you come from another industry where you have, sales, marketing background, you're a natural networker, like you're very disciplined, then hey, you might be unique in that it's a great idea to start on your own, for sure. I'm not saying that it's, one size fits all, but where the industry is going and, how we have to wear more hats than ever. It's not less hats, it's more hats. Like the technology hat alone can be a full-time role. And for a lot of teams it is, right? Like figuring out what to adopt and the distractions, like how do you just figure out what's going to allow you to build your business and phase everything else out so you can be hyper-focused on what's going to make you successful. Because at the end of the day, you don't sell any houses, you're not going to stay in this business.
Right.
So to me, a strong team is an amazing platform to build your business, to leverage your business. If you're very entrepreneurial and you understand business, then you probably can appreciate business. You probably can see the leverage aspects and realize like how many years it would take you to build that, let alone train those people, let alone have the systems that actually work behind it, right? Not all teams are created equal. Like I would definitely do interviews. I would ask for guarantees. There's a big problem where teams are offering everything over the moon and then getting you signed on, and they're not offering anything once you're on there, and the people feel stuck, and it's giving a lot of teams a bad name, unfortunately. So yeah, I would interview. I'd make sure you have an alignment with your values and you know what you want to achieve, and if they're okay with that. Like if you want to sell 6 homes a year, there's a lot of teams who are that you're not going to be the right fit, right? So you want to make sure it fits for your life.
So if you're getting into it and you want to be fairly high production, what are the things, what are the signs, what are the questions you should ask a particular team environment, a team situation where it would be a better fit than not?
Yeah, I would ask them their business model. Like first, is their focus on higher transaction per agent, or is it on the mass number of agents that they have? Like the US team trend has been much more towards how many agents can we get, which is a little bit more of a brokerage style model. So we get the question all the time, are teams brokerages? In our definition, no, but there are a lot of teams who do run somewhat similar or very similar to a brokerage. So I would be asking, first of all, know yourself, like where a performance environment's not going to be comfortable. Like they're going to push you. There are things that are not going to feel natural for you, and they're going to try to get you up and running the way a top 1% performer would as quick as possible. So are you open to that? Because if you're going into a high performance team, I'd say, well, what is the average number of units per agent? What is your goal for that? What's the minimum production here? What opportunities are given to me? What training am I going to be provided? And I'd say compensation, really look at it from a business model, because if you have a really high compensation split there, and I'm talking some of them are really high, you want to ask yourself, just like a listing, what can the team afford to reinvest to support me? Like, how much of a vested interest are they going to have when there's no like when the team leader is going to make minimal income from these deals and they're still selling 80% of the homes on the team? Like, there's a lot that goes into compensation that allows you to understand how much they're going to do to support and invest, and how much of a vested interest they have in getting your business ramped up, because it's a huge financial and time commitment for a team to get a new recruit up and running. It really is. So the good teams, they're going to take that seriously. They're going to do lots of interviews. They're going to do personality profiles. They're going to do maybe Colby profiles. They're really going to say, hey, does this person have a great chance of being successful here? Because if they do and they're all in, this might be a win-win, right? If not, like, why invest in it?
Right, exactly. So you touched on compensation, and it's different for every team, but let's talk about extremes. What's the extreme on one end and the other end that you've seen, whether it's successful or not, in terms of compensation offered for between team and team member?
Oh, there's everything. Like, I've seen it where teams are paying out like 80% splits to the team member, which to me just does not make any business sense. It just, anyway, the way it plays out, it's very difficult. I'm trying to say how to say that softer, but I just can't. So
that's okay. I'm not soft either. Just speak directly.
Perfect. So I was like, so yeah, that's pretty tricky. And then the other side of it, I mean, it's not uncommon at all that on teams you can have a 25% payout, or you can have a flat fee payout. There's some teams in the US that are 25% across the board. It doesn't matter source of business, because they've built up such strong hubs that are taking care of such a high percentage of what needs to be done with the transaction, right? So really, like, they're leveraging your license, where if they have enough volume, you still can make more money, because they're doing so many pieces of the transaction that your face-to-face time is so much smaller. You're actually making more per hour, but you have to see it. You have to see how it plays out and have enough abundance of opportunities and create them, right?
Yeah. So you really have to judge it, like you said, from a distance, from that business mindset, rather than just the initial, I'm getting this percentage, and what does that actually mean to the team and you in the long run?
Well, yeah, like 90% of 4 houses is pretty different than 25% of 100 houses, right? And okay, well, how many hours am I likely going to spend per transaction once I'm up and running and I know what I'm doing? I mean, yeah, it's just a completely different model.
Okay, and you'd mentioned try to get some guarantees in writing when you're interviewing for teams. What kind of guarantees would you be looking for? And would that be amount of leads or training, or what sort of guarantees are we looking at?
Well, I think clear expectations. Like, a strong business is going to want to have as much clarity as possible about, hey, here's what we expect from you, and here's what you should expect from us. And most of them, if not all, if they're really strong, they're going to put that in writing. So it's going to be upfront. It'll be like a team member agreement. If they're a strong business, they're also going to protect their clients, right, with confidentiality, and no, you can't leave the team and call everyone in our database because we just spent 15 years building this database, and that wouldn't be cool for our clients, and it's not fair to us as a business. So they're going to have considered and protect themselves, which means if you stay there long term, they're also protecting your future investment, right? Like, when you work with a team, you're leveraging them, they're leveraging you. Like, you're one entity when you're going out into the market, right?
Mm-hmm. And I know through your coaching, and you've mentioned there are different levels of teams. There's the sort of the very, very beginning would be a single agent with an assistant, and then going from that all the way to the team leader stepping out of the role of selling and even a lot of the main management day to day, right? And having many sort of like a team within a team situation. Sure. Can you talk about that a little bit, just to give people an overview of kind of the different team structures that are out there?
Yeah, there's all sorts of, I mean, obviously I know ours more intimately, but there's so many different structures. But I mean, what I'm passionate about, I'll speak for that because it's easier, but is the idea of leverage for everyone. Like, this idea of, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, so I get to scale, I get to leverage it, it's all about me. That doesn't trickle down well, right, to a team, particularly if you're attracting very entrepreneurial team members. Like, if you're attracting strong drivers who want to sell on your platform, they want to build and leverage just just as much as you do. So essentially, you can look at the team levels and for those watching, like their organizational charts that we have to try to give a clear vision into, hey, this is closest to where my team is, and this is where I want to go. And we nurture it by saying, here's the systems you're going to need. Here's the likely obstacles you're going to face when you move up that level. Here's where it's going to test your business. And we do all of that so you don't quit. So you go, okay, wait, I expected that. Like, we're preparing for that in advance so we can get ahead of things as much as possible. But what I love about them is essentially they're diagrams of how to leverage and how to scale. That's all they are. And they're not just for the business owner or the team leader. They're for all the sales agents on the team. Like, our support side usually have different wants and needs. They value security more. They value consistency. They don't want to be in that fast pace or they'd sell, right? They're looking for different opportunities, so to speak. But for the sales agents, it's like, hey, how can we make your license worth more and more and more on a hourly basis as you evolve within the team? Like, what things can we take off of your plate? What new opportunities can we give you? So we want to compensate up front, knowing that as you not necessarily prove yourself, but perform, as you hit your goals, as you get better and better at your craft, you're going to be able to do more in less time, first of all. But then as your production raises, we're going to say, hey, what things can we take off your plate? So now you can either spend more time with your family, go on more holidays, have a better quality of life, or you're a strong driver and you want to sell more. Cool, whatever you want to do with it, right? And most of them will at least do a mix of some more business and some more quality of life,
right.
At least in my experience. So yeah, it's a pretty empowering model when you understand what's behind it, because it also allows, again, like, I think in real estate or in many areas of life, like I always say, it's a massive privilege to have mentors, like to have people who see your potential and they're going, you don't even see what you're capable of. Like, you're capable of hitting like the top within our team, within our industry. Like, you're capable of being a stronger leader, communicator. You're capable of helping to elevate our industry as a profession just by how you show up, right? And how you represent us. To have people around us like that, I mean, it's invaluable. You can't just pay people to do that. But when you have a team structure that's based on that, that's based on, hey, we actually make money by making sure we help you be happy, be successful, feel like you're growing, you're offering more value to your clients, you're expanding every year. Like, that's a pretty phenomenal thing in an industry that's known to be kind of cutthroat, right? And the strong teams, like, they do it because they're around other teams that model each other too. So the model just goes up and up and up, right? Where people, are within a network so they can see each other achieving this and help each other get better. Like, I don't know, I think a strong model, it doesn't stay just on the team side. Like, it expands, right? So there's so many different, like, it's like a hub, an ecosystem around you, supporting you, for the agent, for the team member, for the team leader. Like, it's pretty
It's
cool.
a support system. And so what I'm hearing is you really want to look for that opportunity and that environment that's going to support you in your growth through your career, not just one aspect or another, but all encompassing.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, maybe at some point the team won't want to grow to where you want to go. And I'm always really vocal about, a lot of really great teams have people leave because they did a great job, not because they did a poor job, because they actually really helped somebody step into their full potential as a leader. And maybe the team is going one direction and that leader wants to go in another. It's not because they did anything wrong. It's because they're in a growth environment. Right. And that naturally will attract other people who say, hey, I want that opportunity. Like, I want to build. I want that support. So it's not like it stands still. So I think there's a big misconception that, oh my gosh, if a team loses people, the team's not offering enough, or it's not good leadership. Hey, sometimes. But I know a lot of really great teams who supported amazing leaders, right? Like, those people wouldn't have been there without the team at that phase in their growth.
Right. Right, exactly. Okay, so we went off on a bit of a team tangent because we know that you're definitely passionate about that.
Sorry.
No, it's good. We were talking about how to choose a team and what to look for, so that's great. So you did that, and you were off and running. And in your first year, paint a picture of what your schedule day-to-day was sort of like and what your production was like first year in the team.
First year in the team, I believe I sold 45 houses. I'm trying to think. Yeah, anyway, 44, 45, something like that. Hours working up until the separation. I was working every day, any appointments I could book. I was working a lot, like evening, weekends. It sounds really bad. Up to the separation, I worked every minute. Yeah, but kind of also true. So it just is what it is. But then after the separation, I would work always during the kids' school hours, and they had like preschool, after school care, which was great. So I was really happy about that. And then I would work 2 evenings a week and 1 day on the weekend when they would go for a visit with their dad. So that gave me that time. So that's what the half the year looked like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after that first year and moving forward, you entered a team environment that was also involved in the coaching side as well. When did that come into play?
Yeah, it wasn't involved in the coaching side actually pretty quickly. Like it started to come into fruition in 2008. And I can't remember, I think the first event for the coaching company was 2008. So I attended that. I helped them edit, all the workbooks and things like that. So behind the scenes, like I was already involved in helping to create and refine some of the scripts and systems in-house. But a lot of us were, right? Like we were passionate about doing our best. So yeah, essentially I'm confused because we started again, but we talked about last time that, within about 18 months to 2 years, I was really burning out. I was really tired. I was starting to question the industry. I was kind of going, I don't know if this is for me. And it's ironic kind of, but the coaching company had gone to Halifax and I'd started to really search, like, why am I feeling so empty? Why am I so frustrated? Like I'm making good money. I'm independent. I know I can take care of myself and my children. Like why, what is it? What's missing? And it kept going back to this worthwhile work. And at the time I started to go, okay, like what's happening of why is it feeling like it's such an external system? Like I get another client, I sell the client, and it just started to feel like a factory chain kind of thing. And I wrote a presentation, which was called the consultant's approach. So while the coaching company was in Halifax, I presented consultant's approach to the sales team. And then we did our first ever Canadian team summit was what it was at the prior company. So I ran and planned 8 of those before we ever came to this company. But so I presented that presentation, consultant's approach, and ironically, it is the foundation to this day for everything we do. All of our systems, our hiring, our recruitment, everything we do to place us as professionals is based on consulting versus sales. And that's what kind of tipped me into realizing that it was very important to me to be learning, growing, bringing a different type of service to my clientele so that I could really connect with them, so that I was actually becoming more fulfilled inside myself instead of burning out, needing to go on vacation and looking for these external things that never really last. And that was a huge tipping point for me in real estate. And I've supported a lot of people who are still in the industry, love it, but the external burnout was just exhausting for them. They couldn't live that way anymore, and neither could I. So I relate to that. So no, there was a coaching company that was started. There was 3 owners, essentially.
And this is in conjunction with selling, right? The team was still in effect and selling a large volume of homes at the same time, correct?
Oh, yeah. There was 2 different companies. So there was the sales team and then there was the coaching company. They were separate. So there was 3 owners with the coaching company. And essentially I finally pushed and kind of said, hey, either I get a chance in coaching or I'm going to leave the team anyway. So I kind of forced the hand to give me a chance. And it took a bit. It wasn't that easy, but they did. And I got on stage, I was doing scripting. And I mean, I still remember like just going, yeah, like this is what I'm meant to go into. So, essentially my story is like a chain of unfortunate events for some people that led to opportunities for me, because the 3 owners just weren't getting along. The company was in massive financial trouble, which I didn't know until much later. And the director of coaching was let go, I think like 12 to 18 months from the company just being live. So, like difficult, right? And coaching companies are like restaurants. Like they're really hard. The majority
Really?
of them don't survive. Oh yeah. Like you hear people say they coach and it's like they have 1 or 2 clients a week. Like at one point I had 30 clients a week. Like it's a difficult industry at times to build. But essentially I got the opportunity to become director of coaching right away. I don't remember if it was 12 months or 18 months of the company being live. And then I was director of operations. And then it came down to, okay, are you going to run the coaching company? And I finally asked the magic question, can I see the books? That's where I should have ran. But I didn't. It was so at that point it was pretty interesting because the company was somewhere I think around $180,000 in debt. And the other two owners wanted to leave, and I don't know what came over me. I always say I don't know. I was listening to a lot of Think and Grow Rich every single morning, and I just had this realization: like, you've already been running this company the majority of the time it's public. I love the company. I want to put my whole heart and soul into it. I saw its potential, and I said, "Hey, cool! Like, I'll take this on." If I'm 50% owner and I have 100% decision making. So I fully run the company. And the partner at the time kind of, warranted to him, was a little taken aback, but in the end, that's what happened. So I took on the liability, so naive, like, who does that? Why do you take 50% ownership, which essentially I took the liability off the other two owners. So they left without any responsibility for that. And yeah, we turned the company around. Took 18 months to kind of step back and deal with content, because that was a problem, and retention, and got it to that point, and then sold my shares and opened this company. So that's a quick Full's notes.
Okay. So let's talk about timeline there, just to give people an idea. So throughout that transition into coaching, were you still selling? When did you sell up to? How did that work?
That's a good question. So I took two times in my life, I've took 2-year pinch years. And so that's where I say, okay, for 2 years, I'm going to do both to get me through a transition. And I did it with this company where 2 years I put my head down as just business. That's it. So I'm trying to remember what 2 years it was now that you're asking me this. So I sold about 60 houses a year and had anywhere from 25 to 30 coaching clients a week. It was crazy. Like, I'm not advocating to do it, but it taught me a lot. And my time management got strong again. And I don't know if it was, I'm trying to think if my last platinum award, because for us, we got awards based on the team amount we get. It's not based on the gross volume, right? It's a little bit different. So platinum at the time with Remax, I think was like 250 to 500. And I can't remember if I got my last platinum in 2011 or 2012. I don't know. I don't have the little circles up on the wall that have the years, because we went to Florida and did it because the team got a big award that year. But it was somewhere in that range. So I was selling 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. I'm pretty sure I was still selling a bit in 2012. And then I kind of went, no, like, I'm running the coaching company. I have a team of coaches. I'm 100% committed here. And I just completely, other than the odd COI deal, stopped. Okay. I just moved all my contracts to other team members.
Okay. And then from that point in 2012, what was the transition from the old company into the new company? When did that happen?
December 1st, 2015.
Okay. Yeah. So that was what, 3 years in?
Just over 3 years ago, yeah.
Okay. So for 2012, you stopped selling and went full into coaching.
Well, I was already coaching though.
You were still coaching along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of your selling, you stopped selling and then said, "Forget it. I'm fully committed to coaching at this point."
I'm all in.
Great. And then you went in and left and started your own company. Talk about that transition, the decision behind it, and what it's been like.
Well, I mean, it was terrifying. Right? Like, I was completely terrified. I had turned around the other company, and then the other silent owner wanted to go in a different direction. And to be honest, looking back, I was quite naive, right? To say, hey, you make a lot more money in sales than coaching. This is just a fact. But coaching to me is very fulfilling. I love what I do. So I purposely took a hit and said, hey, I'll take this salary hit. I'll turn the company around. Why I thought I could do that, who knows? But I did. So it's like, and once that's done, I want to make like a fair amount of money. So when that happened, surprise, surprise, the silent owner says, yeah, we want to go in a different direction. I'm going, I don't know. You haven't been involved. So we essentially ended up to come to terms where I sold my 50% of shares, but half the clients still came with me, and I own all the content. So does that company. So we both own the content completely. And then I've come here now, it's 3 years of content building since. So it was scary, right? Because at first I didn't really want to leave the other company. I loved it. Like, I saw it as like a child. Like, it was everything. And I'd made major sacrifices to build there, and I really didn't want to go. And it became a little bit, what is the word? at the end, like it really challenged me to step up and be a leader and, have a business strategy and make sure I left the other company in a fair way and I could start this company. So it went from being terrified to less than 2 months in, I was already more than full. I couldn't take any more coaching clients. There was another coach who had 1 or 2 clients, but had some knowledge of our system. So I brought him on. I had him full within 2 months. So 4 months into the company, we've got myself and somebody else totally full, and we started recruiting other coaches. So it ended up that in the first year of this company, we did, I think the count was like 48% more than the prior company ever did. And the second year, 75% more. So I went from being absolutely terrified and putting my head down and going 2 years of just business building, like no fun, no nothing, like evenings, weekends. We were running the business out of my house for a while. So I had like 2 admin there and myself and meetings. It was and the kids. It was just crazy. But you know what? I'm glad I did it. Like people say, why? Like why didn't you have balance or have a life? And I was like, well, I really wanted to build something strong, and it was worth the 2-year pinch year to get it off the ground. And then now I've worked my way pretty much out of a job because I only kept a couple. I have. It's weird, but I have. I kept a couple coaching clients because I've coached them for like a decade. And I moved everybody, and we're going to triple our coaching team this year. And I don't really coach anymore. Now I speak and I do webinars and I do, talks all the time. And I come on
podcast interviews,
podcasts, like 1 a week. But it's weird. It's like, it's a whole new era. Seriously, it's exciting. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, let me ask you a question, because there are a lot of people out there that are considering coaching and don't really understand a lot about it. And there's a lot of talk. How do you decide who to bring on as a coach? Do people approach you? Do you approach them? Give me a little insight as to how that world works.
It's a mix. We've had people approach us 100%. Once I put out like a post saying on my personal one saying, hey, we're going to do a video if you're interested in coaching. And I just got inundated. I was like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done it that way. But I didn't expect to, but we ended up to fill another like coach. We only coach a couple or train a couple coaches at once. We have a full onboarding process for that. But what we're noticing is as the company evolves, we're attracting very different people who are interested in coaching. Like people already have coaching, they're already coaching with one of the other major coaching companies, or they have experience building a team, building a brokerage. I'm trying to think of all the people, or they've coached with us and built their team with us. And now they're saying, I don't really want to build the team bigger. I want to maintain it, but I want to help other people build teams now. So that's really exciting because that's kind of coming full circle, right? So it's totally a mix. We're going to do another kind of info session for people who are interested in coaching. And from there, I have a whole recruitment system and then onboarding training process that we go through to become a coach, because team's different, right? There's a huge learning curve and there's a lot of content.
So was there coaching involved when you joined your team back in the day when you first started, or was it more? So let me rephrase that. Was there outside coaching involved, or was it more within the team mentorship leadership? Was there any of that?
That team coached with a ton of different companies, but like over the years before I was there, for sure. They coached with all sorts of companies, and they found the same thing we find here, that team's different. Like it's very unique. And the ability to have team systems that all plug into one puzzle instead of, okay, you've got a couple pieces here and a couple pieces here, but they don't really integrate. Like that's pretty much unheard of in our industry. Like I don't really know of any other platform. And that's why that was our vision, to be like, no, we can cover every single aspect of developing a team from like 20 transactions a year to 1,500. So when I came on, no, it was more internal, like, okay, learn this little script, learn this. It was very brief, what we went through with training at that time. But mind you, it was still a lot more than most people go through.
Sure.
Like, we had training. Yeah.
Rather than here's a phone book, get started.
Well, like, yeah, it's massive. Like when I redid our onboarding, that I was still doing training for that team. So I did all of their onboard training. We did a whole new system. And in the first year of that new system, we doubled the number of transactions for a new recruit in a year. And that's where I was like, okay, this is important. Like this works. This is really key, because it was a shift from, hey, learn these words to this is why these words matter. This is why we believe in these words. This is how people are going to feel when they hear this. This is how they're going to engage with you. And the retention of the content, the way it was delivered, was just night and day. Like we went to back up the belief behind it, like the values and the culture, instead of just learn this like a robot, which most people don't love, right?
Right. Well, a lot of people feel, especially with scripting, they feel it's very unnatural. It doesn't match their personality. But like you said, if words work, if these things work, and everything everyone's following the same system, then at least we provide a consistent experience for our clients, right?
Well, yeah, give your, I always wanted the best chance to be in front of as many people as possible and differentiate myself and then show up as a strong professional. I felt very good about that. And I think our scripts are very consultants approach. So they're very conversational. Whereas I understand, hey, if you're really a networker and you work with a coaching company that's very like aggressive, and some people love aggressive scripts. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that might be more aggressive than ours. You might have a bad taste in your mouth about scripting, whereas somebody with a more dominant personality, they might absolutely love that, and it fits for them. For us, it's very much consultants approach. That's what we're grounded in. So I believe in it. I feel good about it, and we see the results. But you have to get the right fit for you.
Okay, so people getting into the industry or people that are stuck at the same level, that's really what this podcast is designed to help. Yep. These people, if they're considering coaching, what is it that they should expect from a coach?
That's a great question. This past 2 years, we've done a lot of market research, and I realized that I don't even think I knew what we were doing properly as a value proposition in coaching. I think it's very different. So some coaching platforms are strictly accountability. I would personally expect that minimum you're getting accountability, which is, hey, like, what do we need to accomplish this week? Do we have a plan? Did you get it done? And some of them are a sounding board, like just like, hey, this happened. How do I help? That's one style of coaching. Others are online coaching programs. For myself, what would I want? I would want a strategy. I'd want systems that I could plug in. I'd want a track record of how many people have used this and, how its effectiveness. I would want a baseline. Hey, minimum, like what's your average of all these thousands of people using this system? What's the average conversion here? And I'd want somebody who can actually be like a strategist in my business and really help me with that. And that's what helps you to leverage and evolve later on. Even if you just stay on your own as an individual agent, I'd also look for somebody who's a good fit, like with my personality and with my values, somebody who is skilled and trained in personal support and coaching as well as professional, because they both play off each other. And if you think you can just plug in the business systems and get to optimal performance, I would say not in a second. Like when I first started, it's not. Yeah. When I first started coaching, all I had was the business systems. And I look back now and like, I'm shocked. I always say I'm shocked that I got paid and did the coaching I did, because I probably knew a tenth of what we bring to the table now, but you know what you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So when somebody is interviewing a coach, because there are several different companies out there,
sure.
What are the things that they should really be asking?
Well, again, like track record's important. I think you can go where the club is, or you can go where the results are, and it's not the same thing. And a results-driven coaching company is going to be able to give you metrics. So again, I would ask for a track record. I would ask for results. I would ask for what's included in coaching. Like even we have different coaching options, and some include team resources, some don't. Some include a members-only vault, some don't. Some are a year-long contract, some are month-to-month. Right. So, ask yourself what's going to be the best for your success, and are they interviewing you? Like we do strategy calls with people like we did a talk this week. We have 30 new strategy calls booked this week. So, and they're not a sales pitch. Like, are they asking you where you are, where you want to go to, what's important to you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Like, do they really care about where you want to go? It's like when you go to a great listing appointment, you're not there to get the listing. You're there to sell the house. There's a difference. Are they trying to sign you up for coaching, or are they trying to build your business? Like what's their focus there? So that's what I would always look for personally, like what is their what type of track are they going to put me on, and why? What are the reasons for why these things are going to create success? Because if you don't have buy-in, you're not going to do what they recommend. You might as well not coach. Like if you're not going to be open to at least try something new, and you're not at least thinking it's worth the investment to try what they're saying, then probably don't coach. Like coachability is a very important thing.
Right. What's the point in paying all this money and spending this time and not doing anything. It's a waste of everybody's time.
Well, yeah, coaching works. Like coaching works hands down. But if you don't work with coaching, it's not going to work for you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, excellent. So let me ask you a question that I ask all of my guests. Let's pretend that the coaching thing didn't exist for you and you had to go back into real estate sales. And I transported you into some random city in North America, and you didn't have much of a sphere. How would you build a business now from day one? What would you do knowing what you know now to build a real estate sales business in a random town?
I think there's two different ways I'd look at it. For me, like, you know what you know, and online lead conversion is just ingrained in me. So the idea of not leveraging that to me would be silly, because it's predictable, it's scalable, it's something that I know baselines for. So I could very easily know, hey, I'm going to invest in X, and the likelihood is it's going to take me this many months or this many years to get the return that I need to have. So I think that would be one. I think knowing what I know now as well, I would certainly work always COI. I mean, that's very important. Even in a new city, like, where can you make affiliations? Like, even if it's with other service providers, like, what other service providers can I give reciprocity to, whether that's mortgage lenders or that's home inspectors. Like, home inspectors is a little bit harder for them to give you business back, but usually mortgage brokers or banks, things like that. And I try to make other affiliations in the community that I want to get into and I want to be able to serve. So those would be the ways that I would build business. Like, those three tiers would be online lead generation, COI, and then part of COI is affiliations. I'd look to make very, very strong reciprocal affiliations. And I'd make sure that I came with, what do you call it? Like, I'd make sure I had extremely strong track record in my presentations, because to go into a new area where you're not known, like, it has to be a no-brainer at the end of the presentation that they hire you. So if I had to have an affiliation with a partnership or a team just to establish myself, I'd certainly consider that. Even now, if I went into an area, there's no way I want to do the parts of the business I don't like. I have no interest in that. No interest. I'd have to build a team or be on a team if I was forced to only sell. Absolutely. I would never do it solo completely.
Well, all those hats tend to wear on your neck. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what that's all about. Okay, that's some great insight. Now, if you want to leave us with some parting words of wisdom, maybe some people, like I said, they're just getting in the business, or they've been stuck at a level and kind of struggling to get off the ground. What might you suggest people check out, do, resources, anything?
Yeah, if you're serious, and I think anyone watching this would be serious about building your business, my number one thing is model success. Like, what the average agent does compared to what the top 1% agent does is night and day. What the average team does compared to the top 1% team is night and day. You're going to become what you surround yourself with. Like, we know this again and again. I always share the 30-year Harvard study that, your success, even in business, is going to be equated to who you surround yourself with, your networks. Like, we hear it again and again and again. So model success, get accountability, invest in the systems and tools you need to build your business that are already working for top performers. Like, we're really in an era where our industry is going to change for so many reasons. And it's not just technology. Like, it is the intellectual property and the ability to buy from other people what works. So there's these hubs, right, of talent and of opportunity. So I would be plugging into those as much as possible and stay away from the water cooler when you're at work, and plug into networks or masterminds or mentorship, anything you can do to stay connected with the energy, mindset, and tools of the top people, I think hands down is the most important thing. That's where I'd be investing my resources.
Excellent. And how, if people want to get a hold of you, find out more about your coaching and your company, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, our website is www.ittakesa.team. It's funny how it feels long saying that now. Or kathleenspeaks.com. It's the same thing. We're on all the social media platforms. We love social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And if anybody is interested in saying, hey, I'd like to take my business to another level, I don't really know how to do it. Again, we do strategy calls all the time. Like, you can email admin@kathleenspeaks.com, and they're not a sales pitch at all. Like, be prepared to answer questions about your business and get a lot of clarity on where you want to go. And we'll make recommendations and say, hey, if you want our help, this is what that looks like, but this is what we're recommending for growth for you. So more than happy to connect.
Excellent. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this, Kathleen, and sharing, and for doing it kind of twice the length of time we normally would because of that little glitch in the beginning, but it all worked out in the end.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Lauren. I appreciate the time. It's a great show. It's a pleasure to be on it.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, everybody out there in podcast land. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I truly appreciate you for your support and for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share this all over social media, and especially share it with a realtor that you know that might be having a difficult time finding their own path to success. I'll see you on the next episode.